Okay, recording is starting.
Very good, thank you. Call to order. Christine, you want to go ahead and do the roll call, please?
Yes, Tim Diehl, I have you. Doug Nelson.
Yep, here. Well,
Thank you. Brian Adams. Brian Adams. Ted Black.
Yep, I'm here.
Great. Rick Boisford. Rick Boisford. Darcy Davidson.
I am here.
Michael Desrochers.
proud to be here.
So remember
BJ Hyde.
a while ago why I've been talking about
Chief Hyde.
the ability to do random number arithmetic.
Ed Kaminski.
Here.
This is why.
Brandon Sullivan.
Here.
Kevin Lefevre.
Present and accounted for.
Thank you. Jonathan Lund is excused today. Larry Medina. Larry Medina. Thought I saw him. We'll see if he comes up.
No, we're not doing this. We're not doing it.
Kelly Nicolello is excused.
So-
Craig Landell.
But
Here.
Welcome. John Devine. John Devine. That is it for roll call. Just a reminder, Tim, Chief Landell and Chief Devine are new representatives from NASFM.
Exactly, and I'd like to welcome them to the membership council. Look forward to working with both of you, and we're going to hit the ground running with you all. I know, I'm sure. I guess Fire Marshal Landau, if you just want to kind of give us a brief introduction real quick, I'd appreciate that, sir.
Absolutely. My name is Craig Landolt, and I think I'm actually losing count of it, around 30 some odd years in the fire protection and fire code enforcement community discipline. I've been appointed as the Georgia State Fire Marshal for the last 4 years. That took place in February of 2021. And proud member of NASFM and grateful to be here representing our members. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Like I said, looking forward to your participation. Was Fire Marshal Devine on the call? I didn't think so. I didn't see him pop up. So, like I said, welcome again, everybody, the guests. Please make sure you submit your affiliation so we can keep track. Our guest presentation today is one of our members, Ed Kaminski, the fire protection engineer out in Clark County. He's going to give us an update on a project that he's working on. Ed, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks for thinking about me, Tim. And I'm going to try to share screen here. Okay, everybody see that?
No, not yet, Ed.
Nope,
Nope.
not yet. I hit share. Let me try share again. Still not coming up?
Still not coming up.
Is there a trick to it? Oh, I'll click share again. How about that?
It's not picking up the right screen, apparently.
Oh, it's picking up the wrong screen. Then I have to move it over to this screen. Now? Nope.
No, nope.
Ed, are you clicking on the window? You're choosing a window?
Yeah, I'm clicking on. Now, does it show anything now?
No.
Okay, I'm clicking on the share at the top right next to leave.
Right, and then click on the window and then click the window. You'll see all your windows open and then click on the window that you'd like to share.
Let's see, click window.
There we go.
There we
There we
go.
go. All
Yep.
right, let me do this. How about now? Is that good?
Yep, we've got it.
All right. Okay. Well, Tim was kind enough to think about me and asked me to talk about this boring company project that I've been speaking about during the emerging issues part of the committee of our group here. What we have is boring company came to us about 5 years ago and asked for asked for building tunnels to join the ends of the convention center. So what you could see is the grant on the screen now is their grand plan for the complete system that they're planning for the Las Vegas area. If you're familiar with Las Vegas at all, you can see, can you see my cursor? Can you see my arrow?
Nah, because you're not advancing the slides. We're still on the first slide.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. How about that one? You see that one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me try this so you get all of it. This is the grand scheme for the completed project. If you're familiar at all with Las Vegas, can you see my pointer? If you see my pointer, is anybody
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, barely we can see
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah, you can
yeah.
see it. Okay, so the first leg was just this yellow portion in here, which is connecting both ends of the convention center. The extreme north, plan north is Fremont Street. Come down just a little bit, and there's a stratosphere, and you come all the way down to where I'm showing now is Mandalay Bay, all the way. We have different loops that will connect all of the touristy and assembly points all throughout the Las Vegas uh, resort corridor, and each little resort will have their own little loop or drop off point. This is a blow up of what the most recent legs. Just this yellow part here is the convention center, and we're going off to the West Gate right now. The West Gate used to be the Las Vegas Hilton, which is famous for having their fire about 1980, 81. They had their fire right shortly after the MGM fire. So it's just to give you the scale of how much they're planning on doing. So the Westgate leg of the project is 2 parallel tunnels that come, from where the Riviera used to be. They still call it the Riviera Station, but the Riviera has obviously been demolished. 2 parallel tunnels that are about 1,800 feet long. I will, be speaking about some of the challenges we have, which is a code word for conflicts we have during the course of the project, because we've learned a lot of the project since we started 5 years ago. But this is to give you an idea what the tunnel is like. What we're operating now, this is about 12 feet, but what we're operating now is Tesla cars, kind of chauffeur driven by trained drivers. Being that the Tesla cars only have 4 passengers, we're going with 3 passengers and a trained driver, which I didn't think, is really a optimal arrangement. we would be very naive to believe that they're not going to petition or come forward with a higher occupancy vehicle someday. And as you can see, that they see that these tunnels will be able to do many other things. So what we're doing now is what they call a loop with the chauffeured cars. But being that we have this 12-foot some diameter tube underground, they see the potential to do other things with these tunnels. They said they sized it exactly so it would fit a shipping container. It says freight in the middle. The shipping container just fits. But we could also
The
use.
slides aren't advancing, Ed.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible. How about that? You see the car?
No.
Yeah, let's see.
I think we're seeing your view, not what you're trying to, the view you're trying to show.
Yeah.
Edward, if you click on, there's a presentation mode that's just to the left of your minus and plus at the bottom of your screen.
PowerPoint.
There you go. Now we see the loop and the utility and freight.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but I want it, but you still see the banner at the top that I really don't want to show, but I'll just keep going. But you can see okay, let me go back up. You see the car now?
Yep.
Okay, I see the car going through, and that was talking about, what they do now is they have passengers in a car. But, we would, like I would say, we would be naive to think that they would never want to do anything more with these. But the grand scheme that Elon Musk has for this type of arrangement is to tunnel, between continents under the ocean and so forth. So they're showcasing it in Las Vegas. We have a convention center. They can showcase this to many visitors per year as they're coming in to Las Vegas to attend Consumer Electronics Show or whatever other show we've got going on. Because we are one of the 3 locations in the United States where we can have the mega conventions. Being we between us, Orlando, and Chicago, really the only 3 that can have the large volume presentations. Okay, so how they tunnel is with these boring machines. They're named Proof Rock. I don't know why, but they're named Proof Rock. But you can see the scale of them and how they get launched. And the head up above, grinds the earth, and a conveyor will pick up the dirt that they've excavated. The conveyor loads the dirt into a hopper and takes it out. They're doing about, with these machines, the first 2 machines had the capacity to go about a mile a day. They're running 3 machines now. The 3rd machine is improved, and they're saying they could excavate 7 miles a day, which is really, really moving. The material that comes out, they originally said they were going to use the material to make bricks, but that was a pipe dream, because you have to have certain kinds of clays to make bricks. But they thought, well, we're gonna excavate, then we're gonna make the bricks, but that never happened. And another reason why that never happened is if they excavate and they use the material for an economic purpose, that becomes mining instead of just tunneling. And then if you're mining, then you're under different set of regulations under the mine, under the Bureau of Mines. This is a better picture of what it really looks like when it digs on down. This one's in their other location in Bastrop, Texas, which I think is somewhere around Austin. I don't know my geography that well for where that is. They originally had one built near the airport near LAX in Hawthorne that they use for R&D. But now they're doing the Texas and they're doing Las Vegas right now. This is what the center station looks like. We have right now the two ends of the convention center and a station in the middle. This was the below grade station that we have. And what we have done is, you'll see in a slide coming up, is that you go get down in an escalator, you get in your car, we have, cars going in opposing directions. We have the Welcome of Las Vegas LED sign. And what we did is we're using that sign to give evacuation instructions as well, which is a slight departure from NFPA 72, but we use the sign and the board that's on that. You see the square element there. We put messages on that as well. You can see that the tunnels are lit in different colors. I'll talk about that in a second. So the lights, originally we had the lights lower to the ground, but I guess the cars were hitting the lights, so they moved them up to the top. They came to us and said, well, we would like to move them up to the top. And we said, we don't want them at the top because that's where the smoke goes if we have a fire. Then they said, well, we already installed it. So anyway, but this LED light is robust, that it's fed from two directions so that if we have a fire incident, we don't lose all of it. And the light actually can change color, just about every color. Yeah, every color of the rainbow. And they use the color to alert the emergency conditions. So if the tunnel is an alarm, it will flash red, and the tunnel next to it, if there is a tunnel next to it, will be a steady color, another red. Up above, we also have our detections up above. We've got a combination, just standard combination, smoke and carbon monoxide detectors that are those are stock Siemens. We also, in the earlier stages, had our radio communication up above. We had a leaky cable. We had leaky coax, if you're familiar with that, for our communication systems. After a while, for some reason, leaky coax is falling out of favor, so they've stopped using leaky coax, and now we've got antennas appropriately spaced for our emergency communications. So this is the Resorts World station, and for this particular station, there's only one tunnel going from the Riviera station underneath the Las Vegas Strip to Resorts World. So with that, they have to have a traffic control. So they send a platoon of cars in one direction, then it has to wait. Then you have to wait. Then there'll be a platoon of cars going in the other direction. The challenge, that we had is there really isn't any code or standard that applies to what we're building. The two NFPA standards for tunnels, two that we have is NFPA 130, which is titled Standard for Fixed Guideway Transit Systems and Passenger Rail Systems. Then we have the other standard that we would be under would be NFPA 502 for roadway tunnels. So on first glance is what we've got a car, so it's a roadway tunnel. Then boring company is, well, sure, we have a car, but it's with train drivers and we're going in one direction, sort of like what a train does. We were grappling with what we should do with this. We did contact the NFPA and said, well, which standard applies for our situation, after we described exactly how the situation would be. And they came back, saying, well, it really doesn't fit either one of these standards. So I've been grappling, internally to kind of write our own standard for a single lane tunnel. And I've contacted NFPA to see if I could either get on a committee. Then it's like, okay, which committee should I get on? Should I get on 130? Should I get on 502? Should we write a new chapter? We've been grappling with this for quite a while yet. Kind of, this is what the dimensions look like. So you can see what our challenges are for protecting the general public as well as our first responders. Is there isn't really a heck of a lot of room between the edge of the car and the edge of the tunnel. And how will this scenario, the emergency scenario play out when the doors are open? If the doors are open or stuck open, can we get people out? This is another shot of what the dimensions would be like if that element that looks like a coffin is what you would find in NFPA 101 for for egress. And these are dimensions just in inches. So you can see across, there's a car driving surface. And as a safety feature, they have put a lot of emphasis on the fact that they have a ventilation system. They have a model ventilation system. It is a push-pull sort of system. It wasn't modeled with the fire dynamics simulator that would typically be used in occupancies. It was modeled with a different smoke control model that that addresses this method. So what you're seeing at the top of the tunnel is named a Sarcano nozzle. And these nozzles are only at the beginning and end of the tunnel. And the airflow rate is modeled to be strong enough to prevent what they call backlightering. Well, anyway, so that the smoke will not go backwards away from the incident. So what would happen then is you would have a dirty side and a clean side. Say the car in the middle is having the incident. The cars ahead are expected or trained to drive out. The cars behind are to reverse out. Well, I don't know about what you're thinking, but to be reversing out upwards of 1,000 feet or more, even though they swear they're trained, we suspect that will not always go smoothly. But as you see, that what would happen is that the occupants would be instructed to go in the upstream direction, meaning walking into the airstream into the clean side and not go the other way. So, so as an AHJ, we're thinking about, well, if someone picks the wrong direction, can they be in jeopardy? I think so. If they pick the correct direction, we still have to reverse all the cars out. Now, if we need to try to extinguish the car or effect a rescue, we've got to wait for all these cars to go out. Plus, we have to travel into it to get to the event. So the utilities, as you can see, the bottom of a tunnel like this, utilities are in this cavity that are created. So this would be the bottom, obviously the bottom of the tube, so to speak, and this would be the utility. Now what's in the middle is the C900 plastic pipe that feeds the standpipe system. So that in itself was a challenge as well, because is it an NFPA 14 system or is it an NFPA 24 system or is it both? Well, I guess it is both. So what, because we didn't know what to do or how to put in a standpipe system to begin with. We thought, well, is it coming from the top or is it going to be on the side? And I guess I gotta take credit or blame for putting it at the bottom, because I thought that that would be the only way to really do it. So in the construction period, you see the C900 and you see just a standard hose valve. And you know, these pipes that are here, they're about to be used, you know, that they're just kind of in storage. And the pipe along the side of the wall is the construction period standpipe. The construction period is going to be, you know, quite challenging. I wanted to say dicey, just because we're in a confined space and excavating with a electric, you know, the machine itself is electric. We did have an incident once where a transformer shorted out on the machine, and we had a fire in the tunnel. But of course, the boring company said, "Well, we had a short. We didn't have a fire. We had a short." Well, yeah, we had a fire, and it was really it really was a challenge, or it was instructive to see how that fire was handled. Now, when we excavate the material they take out, they just call it the muck. It's very slick, so it's really easy to fall down in this, you know, within the tunnel. And the muck itself is does burn wood, depending on where it is, that it will burn your skin. We've had firefighters get covered, come in contact with the muck and have to seek medical attention because the muck irritated their skin. This is what the outlet would look like. So there'd be a hatch, and we were proving that, you know, that it was usable, you know, during the construction period by having you know, firefighters operate it. You know, it looks a lot better than is, you know, in the finished condition. This is what an egress shaft would look like. Now, what I failed to say when I talked about the differences between these two standards is that in NFPA 130, which, you know, I will contend it was created for monorails, things like BART, like the CTA, monorail like you'll see at Disney. I think now that's what NFPA 130 is. This is like the tunnel we've had in just what we had in the fire we just had in Wyoming. Tunnels that go through the mountains, tunnels that go under the, you know, under the roads to get to the airport, things like that. So we really don't have either one when we've got this arrangement, but a difference is NFPA 130 allows an exit access travel distance of 2,500 feet, 2,500 feet, while NFPA 502 for cars and trucks, the exit access distance is limited to 1,000 feet. So, you know, our contention is that we would like the exit spaced at the shorter distance, and for, you know, what we see is good reason. So if they have to do an egress shaft, they could come into the side and, affect it that way. If they have parallel tunnels, they can do a cross passage. And if you have the opportunity to go to the transit system in Seattle or LA, they have cross passages like about 850 feet. Yeah, so this was okay. This was like that middle station. It's a little bit out of order, but I'll just carry on. But the NFPA 130 allows using escalators as your means of egress. I'm not particularly fond of that in the construction phase and planning stage. I reviewed NFPA 130 and I said, well, you can use an escalator as a means of egress. Once you get there and you see how long and how steep it is, I'm not really crazy about using that again in future designs. I would rather that they have two discrete exits. What's a little unique about this one is the sheet piling. This is one of the biggest sheet piling arrangements that was ever built, because every joint where the sheets came together had to be welded. Now, NFPA Research Foundation funded a study on egress for NFPA 130 systems. What that took, you could see the list of experts there, and you could imagine that this took some work, to arrive at this study. This study, took a long time. Just came out in January 2024. Like all of the NFPA Research Foundation reports, it is available free of charge online. It's about an inch thick, but within the document, they are challenging, or they are stating that our exit access travel distance of 2,500 feet is woefully inadequate. The opening chapters of the study state that using an exit access travel distance of 2,500 feet would make egress very difficult, if not impossible. We did our own, or our staff member we had as a consultant did a study on, can you see the table on the bottom?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Or is it hidden behind? I've got a,
No, you're good.
yeah, because my screen shows a stop sharing box that I don't dare click on. But as you can see, this was a study using a drill of 4 crew members of ages 26 to 38. So we thought it was a very representative sample with between 2 to 14 years of service as a responder. So in order to walk 1,000 feet, it took 5 minutes, and you can see, as obviously when you walk further, it takes longer. Well, so what? But you got to remember that you have to be on air when you go into the tunnel, especially if there's an incident. Well, it is a confined space, and if there is a fire going on, you're going to want to put your breathing air on. So as you get to 2,500 feet, you're seeing if it's taking you 14 minutes to walk the 2,500 feet, by the time you get to the car, you've got roughly 10 to 14 minutes to work, and then you've got 14 minutes to get out. So having an exit access travel distance of 2,500 feet is just woefully inadequate. And that's what we've been at this impasse for several months with the boring company. Now they've done studies or risk assessment studies, trying to justify the longer distance. But when we get those studies, we say, well, how are you going to address this travel distance? We really haven't been getting an answer. So what we have now, we have the 2 tunnels over at Westgate are on a TCO. They're on a temporary certificate of occupancy that expires sometime in May. So we are campaigning for, either cross passages or exits to the surface. So it is going to be a big undertaking, because if you got this, and some of these tunnels are not parallel, they're single lane tunnels where you don't have the opportunity to cross over to a second one. Then if you want to pop up, you just can't pop up just anywhere, because depending on where the tunnel what the tunnel is going under, you may be in the middle of the street, or you may be in the middle of the Wynn Golf Course, is what we found in one of the other proposals. Anyway, but I know I was to go around 10 minutes, and I had some better pictures, but I just didn't have the time to get everything together. So this is what this was all about for now, and hope you have an understanding of what this project was all about.
No, I appreciate it, Ed, and a lot of good information. I'll just kind of open it up to see if anybody has any questions or comments real quick before we move on.
It's a real uphill battle, Ed, breaking ground for sure.
Yeah, there is, and we've learned a lot. We've just got asked to comment on a project at Rancho Cucamonga. They're going Rancho Cucamonga to LAX, I guess, or anyway. But in that tunnel, they're going to have autonomous, higher capacity vehicles. Now, we would be very, naive to think that someday they're not going to come to us with autonomous, driverless vehicles and higher capacity vehicles. So with that, and they're all lithium-ion battery cars. So we're having issues with lithium-ion battery cars just on our regular roadways. So now we've got them in a tunnel.
Okay. All right. Again, thanks, Ed.
Sure.
Not seeing any more, but I'm sure we'll be updated as things continue to proceed. So
they'll be in your backyard before you know it.
That's it. We'll go ahead and continue to move on. Again, thanks, Ed, and welcome everybody. Like I said, I appreciate the time change for this meeting. We'll continue to work through it. As such, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Not seeing any. We'll go through, everybody should have gotten a copy of the minutes in the email that was sent. Do I have a motion for the minutes?
To accept. Doug.
There we go. A second.
This is Darcy. I'll second.
Very good. Thank you very much. To save us some time, anybody opposed? Very good. I appreciate it. We'll move into our work groups. I just kind of want to say and give everybody an understanding that, our work groups are here. This is what keeps us going. This is how we find out about these kind of projects and topics and get the educational started. We have 4 work groups, which is member engagement, emerging trends, public awareness, and our training and education. And I'm really doing it to let the new members that we have, because like I said, we do have a lot of new members on board, that this is where, we expect participation. We also encourage anybody else on the call, even though they're not part of the membership, the governing council themselves, to participate on these calls also. The more interaction, the more participation we can get from, the people on this call, the better we're going to be. So with that, I will move into our member engagement and our newly appointed chair of that, Chief Medina. Please, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Tim. Just reporting back, we had our first meeting that I chaired last Wednesday, so I would encourage anybody can come on it. In the more the merrier, because it's how we lead into some really good discussion and can collaborate. But that meeting is scheduled the second Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific. Let me look at that again, not unless Christine knows off the top of her head, but 1 p.m. Sorry, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Anyhow, so where we're at with it is I proposed to the group really some draft goals and did some work real quick on getting Ed to speak this afternoon. So I appreciate the short notice and great presentation, Ed. But we're looking down the road. If anybody has any suggestions and you don't have time for the meeting as far as presenters, feel free to give me an email and I'll sure to run it to ground as far as getting that coordinated. Other than that, that's all I've got for my report. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, sir. And once again, I know this is going to be a good group to get started. I'll move into emerging issues and trends. Fire Marshal Desrochers, please, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. Hey, Ed, that was a good presentation there. This underground tunnel stuff actually started in our emerging issue and trends work group some time ago. So it was nice to actually see some photographs and some overview on this. So thanks again, Ed, for the time on that. So we had a working group meeting on Tuesday. Normally it's on Mondays. We had to do a schedule change because of a holiday. We had 13 people on our call, which was really nice. Had great discussion. We're going to start putting out an agenda in advance of the calls with some topics to bring up. And one of the upcoming items that we may bring to the full Fire Service Membership Council as a presentation will be CO2 and hydrogen pipeline stuff. We have a couple folks at NASM that have been heavily involved in this stuff, and we'll see where we can go with this. I was on a panel with Robert Marshall, Sean DeCrane, and Ray Bazile from NFPA on codes and standards down at CFSI, and I was afforded the opportunity to speak to quite a few people about the Fire Service Membership Council specific to our emerging issue and trends work group and what our goals, kind of what our mission is and our goal to try to identify things that will have an impact on our emergency services and the fire service as a whole. And it was a great dialogue, and we discussed this whole one-way out concept that's going across the country. We discussed skipping cold cycles, and there's quite a bit of discussion there with the panel. I think it was well received and so forth. So again, I would just welcome anybody that wants to participate on this group. Christine has the whole schedule for the year of the work group. It's 2:00 Eastern Standard Time, usually the third Monday of the month. But we staggered these a little bit because of schedule conflict. So please join us if you want. And I agree with Tim totally that these work groups kind of is a catalyst to all the work that we're doing here. So if you can be engaged with us, it's worth it. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to public awareness. Kelly.
Tim, Kelly had to send his regards last minute, so he's not attending today.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Thank you, Christine. Did you make the meeting?
I did make the meeting. So they met last week and they talked about some of the goals. So things are still kind of ongoing. It wasn't a super long meeting, but I think that they're on the right path and will be developing goals and progress for 2025 in the very near future.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Our training and education group, we're still trying to get together. Jonathan Lund was going to be helping with that. Of course, he is excused. He's at a ICC meeting currently. I'm going to have Ted Black working with him, as well as a couple of our new people. So I look forward to getting that group back together, getting them started up and getting some goals and established with them, and some more opportunities for these kinds of trainings, working with the other work groups. They are all to intermix. We'll move on to reports of officers. And I did see our Director Toomey come on board. So Director Toomey, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Director Applegate might be on too, if I missed him maybe or saw him. Anyways, we had a meeting at the beginning of the month. The bulk of that meeting involved council policy updates around standards development. So I encourage you to jump online and review that. Some of it was cleanup related to sort of an audit. And then there was a part just trying to address some of the process around the energy code and how that looks into the how it's developed under the standards process. So I encourage everyone to take a peek at the policies on the, if you have any questions, look at predominantly the 12 series. So I think it's on the agenda, but everyone a reminder of the Leadership Week and hearings coming up in April. There'll be a board meeting just before that. The deadline for awards is March 15th. So jump on the website if you think someone's eligible for awards. And then lastly, I think the BRIC grant is coming up, and ICC has some great resources on the website if people looking for BRIC grant opportunities, which significantly help it out with equipment training and deployment of code related items. So the rest, I know I try to be brief, but Director Applegate, I don't know if you have anything that I missed or you might want to share.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it, Director Toomey. Through the chair, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Sounds like we had a little slow start today, but hope to see some of you at EduCode next week. Please stop by and say hello. I'd love to chat with y'all. And then 3 weeks I'll be in Bismarck, North Dakota for their conference. A couple weeks after that in Montana, and then a couple weeks after that in Wyoming. So if you're interested and you live in any of those states and you would like to attend their local chapter conferences, reach out to me and I can give you the dates and locations. Wyoming actually does a great job. They have probably just as big of a fire code official presence as a building official presence at their meetings. And so I love going to those and seeing the way they interact and support each other. So thanks for all the work you guys do. I look forward to seeing many of you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I don't know. I briefly saw Director Hyen on the call also. I'm not sure if he still is or not. Okay, maybe not. I didn't see anybody else. Very good. Move into my report. Yep, very busy like everybody else. I was down at CFSI briefly, unfortunately, but it was still a good networking event. Still got to see some people prior to that. We'll have more information coming out of that as it comes. Other than that, I encourage everybody to once again go to the membership engagement platform. We'll be expanding on that later on also. Vice Chair Doug Nelson, do you have anything?
Nothing to report. I was just going to mention I just sent a message to Director Applegate and let him know that I'm in Bismarck and we don't get many huge events coming through, so I hadn't heard of that one. So please, if you get a chance, let's try to connect to just be curious what's going on and if there's anything to stop into. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Very good, sir. Thank you. We go ahead and report from staff. Christine, are you going to do it or is Carl going to do it?
Cara will be giving you the report this time.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, I'm going to take it. Thanks, Tim. Hey, thanks everyone. Good to see you. Carl Fippinger, Vice President, Fire and Disaster Mitigation at the International Code Council, still your staff liaison. But as you're seeing that with our expanded staff, Christine has been gracious enough to take on a lot of the day-to-day administration, coordination, and leadership of the staff role to the Fire Service Membership Council, which is an enormous help to me and a great benefit. So please welcome Christine into that new role, and she's doing a really great job. Also, welcome to our new members from the National Association of State Fire Marshals that are joining us today. Glad to have you on board and glad to see that our ICC board was able to approve those applications right out of the gate here at their first big board meeting of the year. So it's good to see you all on and have you as part of our group. We're also working on still trying to fill a couple of vacancies that we've got with the IAFC, primarily for the Southeastern Division and for the New England Division as well too. So we'll give you reports on status on that. As you know, there have been some significant leadership changes here with the retirement of our previous CEO, Dominic Sims. So John Belsick, as I'm sure many, if not all of you have heard, has assumed the reins as our new CEO. John previously served as our Chief Operating Officer. John has been pretty active in the last few months and was able to host an all-hands staff call with all of us on the team today. During his update, he gave us some idea of where he's headed strategically. And I would say to you that look for him on the road. He's already been getting out to go meet with members at chapter meetings. He's also looking to get to all of our offices here over the next couple of months. So he'll be out there and visible, and certainly encourage you to introduce yourselves to him or invite him to any of the activities that you've got going on if that would benefit your organizations. I'm sure he'd be glad to consider that. As part of John's update today, proud to announce that Mark Johnson has been promoted and has accepted the position of Chief Operating Officer with the ICC. So we're really excited to see Mark in that role. He's been here, I think, 32 or maybe more years at this point and knows all facets of our operation, having started working in the fulfillment side of the house at an early age and moving all the way up to the chief levels here. So congratulations to Mark. For those of you that know Mel Anku, Mel served previously as our general counsel, and she's going to be returning to the ICC. She was named Chief Strategy Officer during John's all-hands meeting today, so we welcome her back and are looking forward to her leadership again amongst the C-suite ranks. Certainly last but not least, Joan O'Neill, who has been our Chief Knowledge Officer, is now also being promoted and taking on some additional responsibilities, including being named Executive Vice President of our Content and Services shop to include our digital solutions, our publications, codification, and then also ICC's community development services. So we look forward to having Joan in that expanded role and having some of them, if not all of them, come to visit with this group at future meetings. So that's the update from the ICC staff side. In terms of our team, the Fire and Disaster Mitigation Team, we held a team offsite in Phoenix, Arizona, January 26th through the 29th, and have really come together as a team and enjoyed our time together there. I will tell you that I put them through the paces. We did it all together and bonded as a team, I think, and have really developed some great outcomes, goals, and objectives for the future here to be shared with you sometime soon. I'm socializing all of that with our senior leadership at this point, and would be glad to share that as we get that approved and move forward. So I did mention Christine taking the lead as our coordination administration point for the FSMC, and she's certainly much, much more than that, having served as a previous chair of this group. So again, thank you to her. In terms of the work group assignments that I've been talking about for several months, that really means dedicated effort from our fire and disaster mitigation team towards those work group chairs and their work groups coming up here to keep this group moving and active throughout the year and for the foreseeable future. So their role will really be to embed with each of the work groups from a staff perspective and help to facilitate conversations around accomplishing the goals and objectives of each of the groups and making sure that we have staff level participation to help drive those goals and objectives to action so that we have a really great set of outcomes at the end of the year and we're able to report FSMC progress to the ICC Board of Directors at their fall meeting in Cleveland this year. So that having said that, Christine is going to take on the liaison responsibilities for the public awareness work group with Kelly Nicolello. Mark Roberts from our team will be taking on member engagement with Larry Medina. Justice Jones will be supporting Michael Desrochers in the Emerging Issues and Trends work group, and then Sarah Carter will be working with the leads on training and education. So she'll be the staff liaison to that group. So looking forward to having those folks embed with you. I will say in public forum, it is not their job to do the job of the chair or the vice chair of those groups or any of the members of the work group, but their goal is to make sure that, again, they are facilitating, providing thought leadership, trying to get the coordination and administration of those groups moving, get them onto the goals and objectives and really drive action with those groups in a way that as one person here for the last 6 years, I've not really had the opportunity to do nearly as well as some dedicated effort from each of those individuals. So we look forward to having them participate. And if you have any questions or comments, things that you'd like to see with their involvement, please let me know, or by all means approach each of them individually if you'd like. They're here and they're going to be a great addition to our group. Turning to some other news, as I think you've probably heard in the media and maybe in your social networks as well too, either professional or personal, there have been some wide area and sweeping changes in terms of reductions in force in the federal government over the last couple of weeks, including early outs deemed as kind of the fork in the road for federal employees. So a lot of that is still up in the air right now, and we're starting to see some of it implemented as well too. So at FEMA, at least 200, maybe even as many as 1,100 folks agency-wide are looking at not being part of the agency any longer. And what does that mean for us? As part of that, there are 20 that I know of that have been identified just at the United States Fire Administration alone. So Chief Black is still in place. Donna Black came in as the Deputy U.S. Fire Administrator. She served in that career role for a whopping 16 days prior to assuming the acting U.S. Fire Administrator roles and responsibilities. So she is spending a lot of time at headquarters in Washington, D.C. I'm not really sure how much time she's been able to spend on the campus, if at all, since taking over in the acting role, but that is a kind of a day-to-day challenge for her to help navigate the staff and the policy and where things are going at the Fire Administration. In regard to FEMA, one of the big things that we talk about a lot on the Fire Service Membership Council calls is the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, or BRIC grants. And as you know, the federal grant freeze has really created some question around where all federal grant programs are going. I can tell you, just without a lot of detail, the BRIC Notice of Funding Opportunity for the current fiscal year is being amended. So it was introduced, it was pulled back, it's being amended, and there is a re-release forthcoming. So just as a reminder, that applies not only to fire code officials, but also to building code officials and other folks like floodplain managers, other stakeholders in our bubble here that we work with on a regular basis. So where that goes for the current process in terms of the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, for the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response, or SAFER program. That's all being worked out right now. I know that at least those grants for AFG and SAFER have been submitted and gone through a first round review up at NFA, but where that is right now, I think still remains to be seen, and we'll see how that all plays out. The message that I'll leave you with, though, is that just remember that there are lots of others beyond those that I just talked about that are being affected across the federal government enterprise, including our partners at the USDA and U.S. Forest Service, particularly with those who were planned hires for seasonal hires for wildland firefighting coming up for the next season. So the message I'll give you is check on your USFA and your FEMA colleagues. I've done that and tried to do it in a very soft but meaningful way to make sure that we check in on them. I check in on them and offer them our support during this time because it's a pretty tough time for them. Less about trying to get any of the details about what's going on day to day, but more so trying to make sure that they are feeling supported and that their well-being is the prime concern. So if you have a moment, take a few minutes to check in on your counterparts there. They would really appreciate it. In terms of the USFA, the Fire and Disaster Mitigation Team is participating in a number of work groups. I'm chairing the Fire Administration's Codes and Standards work group. I'm joined there by Michael Desrochers, Chief O'Brien, Sean DeCrane, many others that this group knows. So that's going really well. We just had a meeting today, so I'm co-chairing that actually with Vicki Pritchett from National Fire Sprinkler Association, and we had a really great meeting for an hour today. So that's moving forward. The USFA Fire Adapted Community Subgroup is being staffed out by Justice Jones, and he's also taken on the Wildfire Responding to the Interface and Urban/Suburban Community Conflagration Subgroup. Sounds like a big title. It certainly is, but Fire Adapted Communities is one facet. This whole notion of community conflagration due to wildfire, particularly looking at Camp, Marshall, Lahaina, the Los Angeles wildfires is particularly important for us. So glad to have Justice staffing out both of those. And then certainly last but not least is the USFA's lithium ion and alternative energy subgroup that's being staffed out by Christine Reed. So I'm participating in all of those as I can make, but those are the leads for them, and all of that is moving forward rapidly. We expect a first report out in May as an interim report out, and then our final reports are due in July, and the Administrator Summit is still planned for later in the fall. So more details on that when they come out. That's all I've got for now, and I'll give you an update on CFSI here in a few minutes. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it. Any questions, comments for Carl? Very good. Thank you very much. We'll move into old business, which is the Congressional Fire Service Dinner that we just hosted. Research was just held recently. Unfortunately, I had to leave early. I don't know if Doug wants to go ahead and give a little bit of an update and then follow it up by Carl, please.
The dessert was great. I actually had two because Tammy left, so I did have your dessert. Didn't go to waste. Thank you. Outside of that, it was a good event. They had a lot of really good topical classes and courses on the day of the banquet, so that was very good. And it looked like a lot of people busy at the Hill. And as Carl touched on, I think there's a lot of moving parts in the federal government as far as relation to the fire service. So it'll be interesting to see how those things play out, and hopefully stability for those that are being affected by it, and opportunity for the fire service to coordinate and push forth in positive ways.
Thanks, Doug. Carl, you're back up.
Sure, glad to follow that up. So CFSI last week in Washington, D.C., Congressional Fire Services Institute. So ICC was proud to host the CFSI National Advisory Committee meeting and a reception to follow in our D.C. offices. Wanted to give a quick shout out and thanks to ICC Vice President Mike Boso for attending. He also took a meeting with one of his representatives on the Hill. He was accompanied by Aaron Davis from ICC staff. And I know that that was a very productive meeting. Angie Weesey from the ICC board came as well. And then, of course, our very own Sean Toomey, representing the ICC board, that rounded out the 3 board members that we had representing ICC there, and had a great week with them. Tim, of course, mentioned that he was only able to be there for a little while. I want to thank Tim personally for not struggling through to come to dinner and potentially infecting us all with the flu. So, Tim, I'm sorry you had to deal with that, but I know that crushed you, and you were not feeling well at all. I'm glad to see you're feeling a lot better. Doug, it was great to see you. And then a very first for us, I believe, Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. We've got Kevin Lefevre on the phone with us here today and in the meeting. And Kevin was able to join us at the table in DC, and I think it was pretty eye-opening and interesting for you to be in DC and kind of be amongst all of that. So we were really appreciative to have the Canadian representation there with us in DC. So good to have you. Chief Brian Frieders was with us, a retired fire chief from the city of Pasadena, now representing and working for Red Rock Entertainment. Did a great presentation on special events to do with codes and standards. And then rounding out our table was Sarah Carter from our fire and disaster mitigation team, and Aaron Davis, as I mentioned earlier, from our federal relations side of the house. I had the honor and pleasure to chair CFSI's National Advisory Committee Program Committee this year. It's called the Programmatic Subcommittee. I'm very proud of that group and what we were able to accomplish this year. The programs that we were able to develop and present at the symposium were very well attended. The room was, I think, just shy of 200 people, and we were filled for most, if not all, of those events. But fighting fire with emerging tech, managing large outdoor special events for the fire service was Brian Frieder's presentation. Chief Tom Jenkins came and talked to us about NERIS and gave a NERIS transition update with some of the folks that are actually using NERIS in the field. So if you're not on that, you need to get involved. That's starting to happen, and it's working out really well. The big one, the centerpiece of this, was threats to codes and standards, the need for action. And what I want to do is just kind of tee up for open conversation and new business. I know my colleague Steve Jones is on the phone, and he's got some updates from New Jersey and I believe Georgia. And I believe Director Toomey is seeing this also in New Hampshire right now. But the single exit and legislating the code, more importantly, is really rearing its ugly head. So I'll let them talk about that in new business. And then the last one was training for success and looking at recruitment and retention in the fire service. So we had a spectacular program. I'm particularly proud of it, not because of what I did, but because of the group we were able to bring together. And it's a veritable who's who from the fire service, representing an entire cross section of the entire fire service. So we look forward to doing the same again next year, and we'll see if we get the opportunity to do that. So that's my report on the CFSI. Thanks for all the time.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, everybody. I will apologize. I skipped over all our membership council liaisons, of which I also have a report in that too. So I'm going to go back real quick before I go back to new business. But I didn't see anybody from the building membership council, but if somebody from the building officials would like to speak real quick. Seeing none. The membership steering committee, real quick, again, I'll encourage everybody to get on the membership engagement platform. This is going to be the way to get your information out. I know the fire service is starting to get into that. Christine is working hard behind the scenes, and I appreciate everything she's doing to get that moving forward. On top of that, also, all the chairs and vice chairs will be getting a orientation, I guess, basically on monday.com, so that the councils can be updating their goals, which were established last year in Monday, but updating them and making sure that they continue on as well and adding any for 2026. That next meeting will be in March. Go to Global. Don't know if anybody from Global is here. All right, seeing none. Emerging leaders. I did see the emerging leaders here.
Hi, everyone. Emerging Leaders hasn't met since the last meeting, so I don't have any update.
That's great, Lisa. I appreciate it. Were there any other liaisons?
Yes, I'm Shane Hooper from the Sustainability Membership Council. If you would have a minute for me.
Sure, be my guest. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Our January meeting was largely organizational, getting all our liaisons and work groups put together for this coming year. We do a lot of outreach and education. For example, tomorrow we have a what we call coffee with the FSMC, which is an informal discussion about kind of current topics in the sustainability world. If you want to participate, that's at 10 Central, and you can kind of see, find a link on our membership page the ICC puts together. And then our next meeting is February 7th at 1:30 Central. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. And I've participated on a couple of those Friday coffee calls, and they can be very interesting. So I continue to good work.
It's not February 7th. February 7th passed.
That would be March 7th. Thank you.
March
Thank
7th.
you.
The one coming up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. March 7th. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Any other liaisons? All right. We'll move back into new business, which we had we have the one topic, which is the Leadership Week coming up at the end of April in Orlando to coincide with the code hearings. So again, this is an in-person meeting. The expectation is you will try to be for our meeting on that Sunday where we can all gather and network and get some more information, as well as the leadership part of it on Saturday if possible. I don't know if anybody else wants to expand on that, or if Carl, you want to go ahead and tee up Mr. Jones for an update on the single stair issue.
Yeah, no, I can certainly pass to Steve, and then if Sean wants to comment, I know that some of that might be close hold for him at this point too, but it's something that we talked about in our codes and standards work group today that was pretty darn important, and we're not seeing it slow down. In fact, we're seeing it increase. So Steve, if you want to talk about what you're seeing in New Jersey and Georgia, throw it out there.
Thanks, Carl. Through the chair, appreciate it. It's Steve Jones. I'm the regional director for ICC, handling North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and New Jersey. Recently, we've had single exit 6-story building bills drop in both New Jersey and Georgia. The links are in the chat box if you'd like to take a look at them. They're both similar in appearance. Basically, what it's looking at doing is allowing for local modifications and adoptions of ordinances permitting single exit buildings. I have not seen these as statewide requirements, but more of at a local level. Regardless, it's still something that this group needs to be aware of and concerned with. We had recent legislation last session in Tennessee where this bill was passed in a similar format. For those of you that have been following the codes, you know that there was a modification made to, I believe it was E24, changing the number of stories in a single exit building to 4. These bills still contain language for, I believe the New Jersey one is 6 stories. I think the Georgia one is 5 stories. So please take a look at it. Know that this is out there. Know that we're actively involved with the chapters that are representing the states, and we're working towards getting this addressed. I'll just leave it at that. So thank you. Any questions? I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. And yeah, this is a topic that is quickly moving across the country. Even in Maryland, we have a study group right now on a similar bill for single stairs. So, Mr. Shapiro, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I was involved pretty actively in the E24 activity. I don't know whether there's any public comments coming in on that. I've not yet heard of any, but I'm guessing there might be. But in any event, I've actually been okay with assisting a few states and jurisdictions so far in walking through what's in E24, why it's there, why you might consider proposing that. But if you do something by statute, I'm encouraging jurisdictions to make sure that you put a sunset clause in any bill so that it gives the codes time to at least catch up and revisit. It's quite possible that what you pass today for single stair might be more restrictive than what's in the code for single stair in the future, and you're unnecessarily constraining yourselves by anticipating that that statute is and will live forever, as we all know that happens. So for sure, I encourage people that if you're going to do anything by statute, include a sunset provision to make sure it gets reviewed. In addition, I love the idea of let's put it to the locals in a state that's very staunchly state code, no amendments, the state controls it. I think that's a great idea. Let's put the single stair thing in there for local amendment and include residential fire sprinklers, because the biggest argument against residential sprinklers in statewide codes is we need to do it all at the state level. So if they don't need to do it all at the state level for a single stair, we just put sprinklers in there and give local jurisdictions a sprinkler option, and I'm good with that. Anyway, everybody should have my contact info. If not, Carl has got it and sent people my way. If you need some additional help with the E24 or any of the background, happy to assist with it.
Thank you, sir. Director Applegate.
Yes, through the chair, just real fast. I was just going to make you aware as a group, one of the reasons I wanted to make sure I had some time to jump on here today, but Oregon's governor is now kind of boasting and bragging about this long process they've gone through working with industry. And they've allowed now, it's going to be adopted statewide to be able to stack duplexes. So now you're going to be able to essentially have a duplex and a duplex, 4 units without sprinklers with only a 1 hour fire separation. And so I see that as us kind of being one of those states out here in Oregon where if Washington does it, Oregon does it. If California does it, Oregon and Washington does it. So I would keep that one on your radar next for the 4 unit duplexes without any protection. So just a heads up.
Thank you, sir. Like I said, that's why we're here. Exchange information and be prepared. Any other comments or questions? Anything else, new business to be brought up? Great. Move into our next meeting will be March 20th. We should be going back to our standard time of 1:30 Eastern time. Are there any comments or questions from anybody on the call? Going once, going twice. Again, I appreciate everybody's time today with the time change. Like I said, a lot of good information has been exchanged. The chat is there, and I will move for adjournment then.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Very good. I appreciate it, everybody. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you all later.
Thanks so much.